Welcome to this week's Technique Tuesday. This week's defense will be an escorting technique, so stick with us and remember to train in safety. This week's defense is an escorting technique, so this technique is used when you have to take an initiative with your opponent. You can't wait for your opponent to try to attack you, your opponent is being unruly, and you have to try to escort them out somewhere. So your opponent's just standing there, and you're going to come up and grab your opponent's cross-side hand. From here you're going to spin it around the back of your opponent, and insert your arm underneath your opponent's arm. Lift your opponent's arm up, bending his elbow, and continue to apply downward pressure on your opponent's wrist. Grab with both your hands on your opponent's wrist, and apply downward pressure on your opponent's wrist by using your chest as a brace. Lock your opponent out. And then from here you can walk your opponent around and take him where you need to go. From the other side, your opponent's just standing there and you have to escort him somewhere. 1. Grab your opponent with your cross-side hand. 2. Spin around the back of your opponent and insert your arm underneath your opponent's arm. 3. Grab your opponent's elbow and lift your arm up, making sure that the elbow is bent. From here, grab with both your hands on your opponent's wrist. Use your chest as a brace and apply downward pressure. Lock your opponent out. And walk your opponent wherever you have to, forwards, backwards, wherever you have to go. Key to this technique is making sure your hand position. You can't wait for your opponent to take initiative in this point, so that way you have to make sure you grab your cross-side hand immediately. Reach and step behind, therefore you can insert this arm here. This arm has to make sure that the elbow bends. If the elbow doesn't bend, technique doesn't work. So that way you have to make sure this hand guides the elbow onto your chest for support. This allows you to apply both your hands on your wrist, apply downward pressure, lock your opponent out. One more time, full speed. And that's your technique for Technique Tuesday.